We just had the summer solstice, so of course the immediate weekend after is pouring rain. But I'm not complaining because I absolutely love this weather. So I decided this is the weekend for reading. This is going to be my 24-hour readathon. I don't stay up all night or anything like that, so it is going to be Saturday and Sunday. So for my Cozy Corner Cafe and Bookshop TBR game, not only did I land on the 24-hour readathon space, I also had quite a few books that have been very highly anticipated for me, and I couldn't decide which one to read for the 24-hour readathon because I can most likely only read one book in that amount of time because these are longer books. The poll kept going back and forth between the three books constantly, but in the end, the final winner was The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I was thinking about it, and I think I can say that Leigh Bardugo is actually my favorite author. Every single thing that I've read from her so far, I've really loved or has been my all-time favorite. And that started with Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Those characters, that story, that duology is just has my whole heart and soul, all of those characters. And then she also wrote the Alex Stern series, which starts with Ninth House, and Ninth House is my favorite book. And then the Shadow and Bone trilogy I really enjoyed. It wasn't in the same level as those two series, but I really enjoyed it. And if I'm thinking about which author has written the things that own my soul, it would be Leigh Bardugo. I don't have any expectations for The Familiar because I know it's going to be really different. I'm just really excited to read her writing again, something new from her. And then to make it even better, it's historical fiction. And I have just read 2 historical fiction books by my other favorite authors, Stephen Graham Jones and V.E. Schwab. And quite honestly, I was pretty disappointed by both of them. So that has been a huge heartbreak and letdown. I have felt really bad about it because I want to love everything that they do. They're authors that I genuinely love, and I love historical fiction fantasy. Actually, the first series that got me obsessed with fantasy again is His Fair Assassins by Robin Lefevers. That series is set in the backdrop of medieval France, but with a lot of fantasy elements. And I love the Baron the Nightingale series by Catherine Arden. I really like historical fiction fantasy. I'm hoping The Familiar is the next one that I can add to my loves list, and I can have a great weekend reading in the rain for this readathon. Yep. I'm on the second page. I love Leigh Bardugo's writing. She is my favorite author, and it just feels so good to get new words from her. It's page 2, and I already feel like it's a breath of fresh air, and I love it, and I missed it, so this is a good choice. I'm very happy about this. What a great way to spend a rainy, cozy weekend. I'm a little ways through The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, and I'm so captivated by this so far. This is such an easy book to read, just like a lot of Leigh Bardugo's writing is. And I think that that is part of the reason why she's one of my favorite authors. It doesn't matter what she's writing, it just seems so easy to flow through and read. And what I really appreciate that she's doing in this book is she doesn't wait. It's not a slow build-up. She is having the story just go. It's taking off. The plot has occurred from the very beginning. I just think that she expertly weaves the backstory into the plot so that it doesn't feel like you have hundreds of pages or even 100 pages of just trying to get your footing before the plot takes off. This book primarily follows Lucia. She is a scullion girl for a not very wealthy and not very kind woman couple. This is in Madrid, and Lucia has the secret power of being able to do little household magics. So for example, she can fix burnt bread, or she can make plants grow. And to do that, she is reciting words that is a combination of languages from her heritage. She has to keep this a secret because of a couple of reasons. Number one, this is the time of the Spanish Inquisition. The church owns miracles, and saints are the ones who perform miracles. And since Lucia is just a scullion girl with no family, no money, nothing to her name, that would lead them to claim it as witchcraft and work of the devil rather than magic or miracles. The other element to this that makes this very, very, very dangerous high stakes for Lucia is that she is part Jewish. And the words that she sings in a song type way to make these little miracles, as she's calling it, occur is a combination of Hebrew, Spanish, Turkish, and Greek. So if anyone hears these words, that is going to be clearly a dangerous, dangerous game for her. Now the book opens up with getting caught. She gets caught by the woman that she works for, and because this woman comes from a lower class family and she wants to be in grander society, she decides to take advantage of her magic and have people come over and treat it almost as parlor tricks. Her aunt warns her that this is a very, very dangerous game that she's playing. If even a whiff of her Jewishness is suspected, but more than that, even if it's suspected that she isn't doing things from God, which is not likely to be suspected because, as I said, why would God bestow his gifts upon a lowly, impoverished woman? She has a very real chance of being tortured, captured, put in a cell, or killed. The really interesting thing about this, though, is the very human desire for a better life. She sleeps on a dirt floor in the family's basement, and she has no money to her name. She's in her early 20s, and she's already exhausted and tired from her work, which is very hard and always has been. And so she has this fire to her while at the same time very deliberately playing dumb and playing very meek and not speaking and looking down at the ground. And she feels and has always felt this yearning and longing for a much better life. I would say a life of luxury, because she even acknowledges that when you get more, is there ever an end to the more? Is there ever an end to wanting more than what you're already getting? So she knows she's playing with fire, but she feels like this talent that she has, because she is even better at this than her aunt who taught her the words in the first place, that it can't be for nothing. There needs to be a reason why she has these gifts, and hopefully she can use that to her advantage and get out of the station that she is in life. So it's been so intriguing to see these shifts that she has, where in 1 minute she'll be like, well, I deserve this. I should use my gifts. I should, what's the point of playing safe if I'm already gonna be miserable and die miserable? I might as well die now, having had some luxury and some brilliant times in life, because she doesn't have anything. She doesn't have anything. And then when she does start doing that and some of the dangers start to increase, there's that human survival instinct of, oh my God, am I the most foolish person alive? How could I think that this was worth that? And I really enjoy that push and pull of her character. And this book is just starting. I'm maybe a quarter of the way through, maybe a little more. And I can just see she's gonna get in over her head a lot. And that's because a very rich and wealthy man who's trying to get on the good side of the king finds out about her little miracles and decides to take her under his wing for this secret magical competition that's coming up. A lot of people in Spain are coming together to find people who have these little magical abilities, and they're going to, it seems like, do a competition of some sort. And whoever wins would get a lot of great favor from the king, because he's struggling with a lot of failures politically right now, and he could use any amount of luck or magic that he can get. The issue, though, continues to be the Spanish Inquisition, and how do we toe the line between making sure that it is perceived that these are gifts from God and the church, their holy church, and no other churches or no other gods, and yet be in front of everyone, and she has to say these words that have Hebrew in them too, and that needs to be kept a secret. And then there's a character that I was surprised to see, and I'm really enjoying his perspectives and his element to this story, which is the familiar, the scorpion. He is an immortal servant, companion, right-hand man of the gentleman who is going to be the patron of Lucia. He has been with his family for ages. He works for him, and his immortality lends him to have knowledge of magic and knowledge of a lot of this mystical stuff that Lucia is going to have to get into the world of. And so he is going to be helping Lucia. Her aunt is going to be helping her, and this man is going to be helping her be a force to be reckoned with. A force to be reckoned with, but not too powerful that she could be threatening to the church. Which, isn't that just the way that you just have to find a way as a woman to show your strength, to be formidable, but not too much, not to where you could be a threat. So this has been a really, really quick and enjoyable beginning of this book. And as I said, I love how we are sunk right into this process. This is a character-focused story more than anything. And Leigh Bardugo said that she wrote this with a lot of her family history in mind. I'm really enjoying the unexpected banter between Lucia and the familiar character. I am really just having a great time, and I'm so relieved because I have not been having the best of luck in times lately with highly anticipated books. I'm doing Gavin Reads It All's Patreon reading sprints, and I'm sorry, but I just have to say it again. Leigh Bardugo's writing, it just flows like water. Everything she writes is beautiful. I want to hang on every word, but it's so easy. It's such a luxurious joy. I'm just gonna keep fangirling over it. I fear. It's just so nice and such a relief. This was exactly what I needed. So thank you for voting and choosing this for my 24-hour readathon. Another element to this book that I love is this sense of foreboding. Not just because Lucia feels that, and not just her, but everyone else involved with this story feels that, but it feels like a tale, and it feels like you're in her mind, because the book itself starts on chapter 1, the first sentence is, if the bread hadn't burned, this would be a very different story. If the cook's son hadn't come home late the night before, if the cook hadn't known he was hanging around that lady playwright, if she hadn't lain awake fretting for his immortal soul and weeping over the future fates of possible grandchildren, if she hadn't been so tired and distracted, then the bread would not have burned, and the calamities that followed might have belonged to some other house than Casa Ordoño. Then it continues to go on, like, if this hadn't happened, maybe this would be a different tale, maybe this wouldn't have occurred. It's such a clever way to establish a setting, establish characters and their actions, and also hook you for where we're going to go with the story. She's such a clever author. And this happens again as the group are getting Lucia ready and prepared to be presented for this contest. They all are trying to figure out the best way to go about it, just as she is. And there's a line when they're talking about what to do with her hair. It does that again, where it says, perhaps they should have cut her hair that day. If Valentina had picked up the razor, or Juanit the shears, if Lucia had bent her head to the ministrations, maybe more than one of them would have returned to the shabby house on Calle de los Santos and lived to tell this story. And so just as you are starting to get comfortable with each new thing, they're getting dresses, they're testing out her magic, different things keep occurring at the ends of these chapters that kind of gives you a little jolt. It jolts you more alert and in surprise because things keep happening that you don't expect. Some future foretellings keep occurring that makes you get hooked on, okay, where is this going? And another interesting element is how many of the characters have secrets and ulterior motives. The familiar character, Santanhal is his name, and he is known as the Scorpion. That's kind of his symbol. As I said, he is an immortal servant to Victor, who is the patron that is going to be presenting her to the king. And he is a complex character because you learn that he, as Victor's right-hand man, is doing anything that he's told to do, and a lot of that involves assassinating, because why wouldn't it, for rich, wealthy men who are trying to secure their power. And he doesn't feel pain in the same way as humans do. He does, but he knows that it's going to heal quicker. He's not going to die from it. He just has to endure it. And imagining living such a long life, having to serve so many in this family, you kind of lose touch with your human emotions and your humanity some. And yet he's finding some of his rage coming back, having to work with Victor. But you can sense that he's fascinated by Lucia. Santanhal is really more curious about her, and he's helping her practice her magic, and he can read her better than the other people can. So it's really neat to have these two characters kind of go toe-to-toe with banter, but there's also a familiarity between them. There's kind of a comfort between them that they're both not basic humans, if you know what I mean. One has the ability to have magic and one is immortal. So they are different, and there's a bit of, you can sense a camaraderie there, an understanding of what it's like to be different. And so that relationship is blooming, and it's really captivating and interesting, because not only do you have Santanhal's intelligence, you have Lucia's brashness and willingness to be more honest with him and more introspective with herself about her powers and where it might come from, even though she doesn't understand it at this point. And I'm so curious and wondering where their relationship is going to go, because I'm wondering if there's going to be any type of romance blossoming. I'm just really loving this story. I feel like everything is balanced, like on a knife's edge. And that's the feeling that I gather, obviously, you're supposed to feel. So I feel like she does a really good job of doing that, because that's exactly what I feel. And I'm really finding that the characters are all very unique, and they all have different motivations. And she talks about that this is very much more of a character book, and I definitely agree. This does a really good job of showing the perspectives of all of these different people and what the different things are that they want and how they're trying to go about manipulating everyone else to get them, because everybody's kind of manipulating everybody else. Everybody's got secrets, everybody has things to lose and are hopeful for things to gain, which makes it such a juicy, intriguing story to follow. So, apologies for holding the mic. I need to keep the air conditioner on, so it's really loud and I need to make sure you can hear me. I don't like the heat. This is rough. But you know what else is rough? My emotions. Okay, so I was to read The Familiar in my 24-hour readathon. I did that. However, I'm 20 pages from the end. There are 20 pages left. I can't get myself to read them. And that's not because I don't like it. It's because I just know where it's going and I don't want to experience those emotions. Oh my God. Like, it's really nice to be able to read a book like this again. And I just am so happy to be reading new Leigh Bardugo books because I love her writing so much and her character work. And the way that this story is going to go, I feel that there can only be one or two ways that it's going to end. And I'm leaning towards one way, which is going to hurt me a lot. So I am almost done with the book. I have just not been able to bring myself. I'll read like a paragraph and then I keep putting it down because I just keep getting this like gut-wrenching feeling. I'm like, no, I don't want to feel this. I don't want bad things to happen, but I just have a feeling that with the Inquisition, bad things are going to happen. That's the literal point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to film myself finishing the book. So I will fast forward the footage so that you can see my reactions as they come. I won't say what happens, don't worry. I'm just going to share my feelings about what happened from my facial expressions. Wish me luck. Okay. Okay. What a tale. My chest aches. I'm not sure that I have an eloquent way to explain the depth of this book and the heartache. I feel that everyone's heartache seeps through every page. And I just have to add, she always sticks the landing. It is not the easiest or most common thing to have the ending of a story be exactly what it should be. And man, if Leigh Bardugo does not always nail the endings of her books. And this one was exactly the same. This is a tale about human power and devastation and control through means of religion, wealth, station in life. And it's a story about striving for more and wanting more. It's something that I think about a lot as a person who really likes reading about history, about how frustrating it is to know that when and where you are born determines so much from your life. That is true today. That has always been true. And it is one of the horrible injustices that is so unnecessary because humans don't have to do this. We choose to do this. And I don't mean the collective we, I mean those that already have power and money and wealth don't want to share or give that up. And a lot of these characters have to do what they can to try to scrape any amount of not even wealth, not even riches, just not misery and poverty out of their circumstances. As this takes place in the Spanish Golden Age, during the Spanish Inquisition, you really feel the devastation and loss and suffering that so many faced for absolutely no valid reason whatsoever. I really struggle reading books like this and books about witchcraft and religion in general because it just devastates and enrages me. And this book definitely did that too, but it was so well written. It was so impactful. Man, oh man, I hope you can tell how floored I am by the ending and by the book. It's not an easy or necessarily enjoyable read because it is, as I said, very heavy and unfair and difficult to cope with these being realities that humans have chosen to do to other humans. There is wonderful instances of magic. It's really fascinating. I love this type of magic where it is just put into the real world, which is the case. And that is my favorite kind of magic system or magic stories, and that's what this is. There's also a lot of scheming and manipulation. And overall, I just really, really, really enjoyed and recommend The Familiar. It felt inevitable. The ending of the book, where it all went, there is a departure from where you think the story is going to go. And again, now that I think about it, like that felt inevitable as well. I am so impressed with Leigh Bardugo's ability to write this historical fiction with such depth
and commitment and heart. She mentioned that this has a connection to her family history, which I feel like must have been very powerful for her to write and explore and honor. I just can't say enough about how much this twisted my heart. I have not had it happen in quite a while where I was so invested in characters and their endings and beginnings and stories where I didn't even want to pick out the book. So I'm like, no, no, no. If I just keep it like this, if I don't read it, then I won't have to face whatever is going to happen next. And some of the most times that that happens to me is with Leigh Bardugo's books. And I thought that The Familiar was no exception. I'm a little confused why I haven't heard as much praise for this one. I thought that this was a spectacular historical fiction. And it leans more towards the historical aspects. Like so many of the characters in this, there's different characters that you follow, not just Lucia and Santanhel, and they are all representative of different stations of life and different scenarios of people that would have existed in this time period. And so it was a well-rounded, tangible human story. I oh, I loved this book.